There are social obstacles in existence in terms of the flat world. There are established religious beliefs that conflict with each other and stop the world from being flat. There is xenophobia that continues to exist around the world, where people fear other people who are not them, and anthropologists will tell you why. And there is the need for acceptance in one's own society or peer group, whatever that is, because there is a risk of being different. And then in the fourth category of why the world is not flat, it's because many people need heuristic proof or acceptably measurable proof of anything that might work, but when they finally get it, it's too late. And if we had a flat world, we'd know that things that do work would catch on faster and move out faster before we had to knock our brains out to try and prove to agency after agency or funder after funder or whatever that these things work. The only reason that something like microlending succeeded was that Muhammad Yunus, who began the Grameen Bank, was able to prove its worth using industrial era metrics. He achieved amazing societal gains, but he still had to use industrial era metrics. He had to show that these women were good loan risks. You know, it's very interesting to me. A few years ago, banks found out that the worst loan default risks on mortgages were who? They weren't lending to gays, they weren't lending to singles, they weren't lending to minorities because they said they're poor risks. They would lend to married couples. Married couples, as it turns out, are the worst risk for mortgage loans, because divorce is the single most event implicated in bankruptcy and default on one's mortgage. So the experts don't know what they're measuring. They have their assumptions and they go by them. But Muhammad Yunus was wise, and he understood that he needed to find these metrics. So he said, these are good loans. Look, 99% of them repaying. He's got a 10 metric point of what gets people out of poverty, and he, to his credit, will not be satisfied until people meet all 10 of them. They're great. He's got something he can point to, something he can measure. But we are moving into a world increasingly where extra dimensionality ushers in the virtual horizons and frontiers, and we're not always sure what those metrics are going to be or what they should be. Because this is a world that is non-spatial, non-linear, and non-rational. And let me just explain a few of those. First, the non-spatial. There are two worldviews that exist out there, we are convinced in our shop. And we might stereotypically call them the male worldview and the female worldview. The male worldview, we believe, is a three-legged stool. The seat is the economy, and the three legs are transportation, infrastructure, communication, infrastructure, and capital formation. And the belief in that worldview is that if you strengthen those three legs enough, you will strengthen the seat of that stool, the economy, so much that more and more people can pile on it higher and higher and higher. The female view of the world, on the other hand, again stereotypically, so accuse me of that, fine, accost me in the hallways, but I understand that. The female view of the world, stereotypically, is another three-legged stool. The seat is not the economy, it is the society. And the three legs are health, education, and ecological integrity. And the belief is that if you strengthen those three legs enough, you will grow the stool, the seat, so much that more and more people can get on it side by side. Those two worldviews are very, very different from each other. But importantly, neither one is incorrect. They are both absolutely correct. You cannot have good education systems or good healthcare systems without good transportation systems and capital formation. But what's the point of good transportation and good educational and good informational infrastructure if your education system is failing, if your healthcare system is failing? The real key to a flat world would be to build the perfect six-legged chaise lounge. And until we do that, the world will not be flat.